A very good afternoon and thanks for tuning into the midday news on Rajya Sabha television. My name is Aishwarya Kapoor and here are the headlines. Fourfold increase in self-help groups in 4 years under NDA, says Prime Minister Modi during interaction with the beneficiaries of National Rural Livelihoods Mission. Says 20 lakh new SHGs created with over 2.25 crore families brought into its fold. Breakfast meeting between BJP President Amit Shah and Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar. Meeting to bring about a broad consensus between allies over issue of seat sharing for 2019 Lok Sabha polls. Donald Trump shocks the NATO allies, asks members to double defense spending commitments, accuses Germany of being a captive of Russia at the Brussels meeting. Croatia set up a title clash with France at the Football World Cup, beat England 2-1 in the semi-finals. All-European final to be played on Sunday. And after bagging the T20 series, India to play first ODI against England at Trent Bridge today. 3-match series being termed as a dry run ahead of next year's World Cup. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that self-help groups are playing a very important role in rural areas of the country. Interacting with the members of self-help groups under the Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana, that is the National Rural Livelihoods Mission, he said that these groups form the basis of economic growth for the poor, especially the women. He said that the groups are making women socially and economically strong. He said for women empowerment, it is very important to provide them the opportunity to recognize their powers and abilities. The Prime Minister said that since 2014, 20 lakh self-help groups have been created and over 2.25 crore families have been brought into their fold. He also said that 45 lakh women self-help groups have been created so far with 5 crore active women participants. This, in effect, is adding one more earning member in 5 crore families.
मैं आपको कुछ आंकड़े बताना चाहता हूं। 2011 से 2014 हमारी सरकार बनने के पहले अगर 2011 से 2014 तक जो कुछ भी प्रगति हुई उसको देखें तो 5 लाख सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप बने थे और सिर्फ 50-52 लाख परिवारों को सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप से जोड़ा गया था। हमारी सरकार बनने के बाद 2014 से 18 तक इस काम को प्राथमिकता दी गई, इस काम का महत्व माना गया और गत 4 वर्ष में 20 लाख से अधिक नए सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप बने हैं और 2.25 करोड़ से अधिक परिवारों को सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप से जोड़ा गया है। यानी पहले की तुलना में सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप्स 4 गुना बढ़े हैं और 4 गुना अधिक परिवारों को इससे लाभ भी मिला है। ग्रामीण युवाओं के कौशल विकास पर विशेष ध्यान दिया जा रहा है। युवाओं को रोजगार और स्वरोजगार दोनों के लिए ट्रेनिंग दी जा रही है ताकि देश के युवा अपनी आशा आकांक्षा के अनुरूप आगे बढ़ सके। स्किल ट्रेनिंग से लोगों के लिए रोजगार के नए अवसर उपलब्ध हो रहे हैं और लोगों के जीवन में इससे सकारात्मक बदलाव आ रहा है। देश के प्रत्येक जिले में ग्रामीण स्वरोजगार प्रशिक्षण संस्थान स्थापित किया गया है ताकि युवाओं को ट्रेनिंग की सुविधा उन्हें अपने घर के पास ही मिल सके। यहां गांव के युवाओं को आर्थिक क्रियाकलापों को शुरू करने के लिए प्रशिक्षण दिया जाता है। इस साल मई तक करीब 600 ग्रामीण स्वरोजगार प्रशिक्षण संस्थान देश में काम कर रहे हैं। इसके तहत करीब 28 लाख युवाओं को ट्रेनिंग दी गई है और उसमें से 19-20 लाख युवाओं को रोजगार से जोड़ा जा चुका है.
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi also today inaugurated the new headquarters building of the Archeological Survey of India in New Delhi. The ASI's new headquarters have been equipped with state-of-the-art facilities, including energy-efficient lighting and rainwater harvesting. It will also include a central archaeological library with a collection of about 1.5 lakh books and journals.
अगर आगरा के बच्चे के सिलेबस में ताजमहल की पूरी कथा होगी तो फिर कभी डाइल्यूजन डाइवर्जन नहीं आएगा. वो पीढ़ी दर पीढ़ी तैयार होते जाएंगे, उसी क्षमता के साथ, सामर्थ्य के साथ तैयार होंगे. दूसरा, इंस्टीट्यूशनली ऐसे 100 शहर में मान लीजिए हम उसी के शहर का ऑनलाइन सर्टिफिकेट कोर्स शुरू कर सकते हैं क्या, और उसमें जो उत्तीर्ण होते हैं ताकि उनको पता चलेगा एक एक बारीकी, साल याद होगी, और फिर हम द बेस्ट क्वालिटी टूरिस्ट गाइड तैयार कर सकते हैं क्या.
And on to some other news. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu attended the 164th CPW Day celebrations in the national capital today. While addressing the gathering, Vice President Naidu congratulated the entire CPW family of engineers, architects, technical, non-technical staff and workmen on this occasion. He added that the CPW has the potential to play a bigger role in building new infrastructure projects, given its institutional spread and technical prowess. He said that CPWD as an engineering organization must also focus on innovation and modernization in the infrastructure sector to ensure accelerated economic growth of the country.
वर्तमान में हमारा देश में दुनिया के सबसे तेजी से बढ़ती अर्थव्यवस्था होने का गौरव है. देश निर्माण और आधारभूत संरचनात्मक परियोजना में बड़ी गतियों के साथ औद्योगिकीकरण और आधुनिकीकरण के एक प्रमुख चरण से गुजर रहा है. हम बुनियादी ढांचों में सतत वृद्धि को देखने के कगार पर है. हालांकि सीपीडब्ल्यूडी इस विकास प्रक्रिया में योगदान दे रहा है.
And members of parliament have hailed the Rajya Sabha's decision to promote linguistic diversity among its members by allowing them to speak in any of the 22 scheduled languages of our country. MOS Parliamentary Affairs Vijay Goel applauded the Vice President for ensuring the facility for simultaneous interpretation in 5 more languages of Dogri, Kashmiri, Konkani, Santali and Sindhi. Now, speaking to Rajya Sabha television, the minister said that it will help instill confidence among members who can now put forth their views in their mother tongue. Besides, it will also help create awareness among people about the linguistic diversity of our country.
हमारे प्रधानमंत्री हमेशा कहते हैं एक भारत श्रेष्ठ भारत, कि भाई जो साउथ में है उसको नॉर्थ की भाषा सीखनी चाहिए, उसका खान पान उसको पता होना चाहिए और वे उस भाषा में कम से कम कुछ पंक्तियां जरूर जाने. तो मैं समझता हूं राज्यसभा के अंदर ये एक बहुत ही अच्छा इनिशिएटिव लिया गया है, जिसका श्रेय मैं अपने सभापति वेंकैया नायडू जी को दूंगा कि अब 22 भाषाओं के अंदर कोई भी सांसद अपनी बात को संसद के सदन के अंदर रख सकेगा.
And BJP National President Amit Shah today held a brief interaction with the Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar over breakfast this morning. And during the meeting, the two leaders are understood to have discussed the prevailing political situation in view of the Lok Sabha polls due next year. Shah met Nitish Kumar at the State Guest House in Patna, where he met Kumar in presence of the Deputy Chief Minister Sushil Kumar Modi. Shah is scheduled to hold meetings with the party functionaries during his day-long visit and meet Kumar again over dinner before retiring for the day. The BJP chief's visit to Bihar and his interactions with Kumar is expected to bring about a broad understanding between the Saffron Party and the JDU over the issue of a seat sharing for the Lok Sabha polls. And the Election Commission has asked the Central Board of Direct Taxes, or the CBDT, to come up with a uniform format to report scrutiny of assets and liabilities declared by candidates in their poll affidavits. In a letter to the CBDT chairperson, the Election Commission said that a verification report to check for mismatch should reflect the 5 categories decided by the two bodies in 2013. The Election Commission's letter comes after the CBDT cautioned the poll panel against putting in public domain the scrutiny report of assets and liabilities declared by candidates in their poll affidavits. The EC feels that since a verification report is not an investigation report, its disclosure should not be restricted under Section 24 of the RTI Act, which exempts certain organizations from being covered under the information law. Now, based on the response of the CBDT, the Election Commission may decide on whether to put scrutiny reports in the public domain. And the centre has told the Supreme Court that the sanctity of marriage would be weakened if the penal law on adultery is scrapped. The law only punishes a married man for having extramarital sexual relations with another married woman. This submission was made by the Ministry of Home Affairs in an affidavit to the Apex Court. The centre has also sought dismissal of a plea challenging the validity of Section 497 of the Indian Penal Code on the grounds that it does not make men and women equally liable for the crime of adultery. The centre asserted in court that Section 497 supports, safeguards and protects the institution of marriage. The affidavit said that the Law Commission of India was currently examining the issue and they have identified certain focus areas and have formed subgroups to deliberate on such areas. The top court had referred the PIL challenging the constitutional validity of the adultery law to the Constitution Bench in January this year. The PIL has been filed by one Joseph Shine, an expatriate Indian living in Italy. On to some other news. To combat air pollution in 10 most polluted cities of our country, especially in Delhi, Kanpur and in Varanasi, the Niti Aayog has proposed a 15-point action plan. The draft action plan, titled Breathe India, includes encouraging electric vehicles, phasing out private diesel vehicles and development of crop residue utilization policy. The action plan also includes expediting strategic decommissioning of old and inefficient power plants and the implementation of a large-scale fee-bait program from 2020 onwards. Now, a fee-bait is a policy by which inefficient or polluting vehicles incur a surcharge or a fee, while the efficient ones receive a rebate. According to 2018 WHO database, Kanpur, Faridabad, Gaya, Varanasi, Agra, Gurgaon, Muzaffarpur, Lucknow and Patna are the top 10 most polluted cities of India. Time to slip into a very short break here. We'll be back with more news. Stay tuned.
Tales that inspire. Stories of social change. A salute to diversity. Promoting public discourse. Events that motivate. Inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries.
Welcome back after the break, and now an update on the Kulbhushan Jadhav case. And according to media reports, Pakistan will file its second counter memorial on 17th of July in the International Court of Justice on the conviction of Indian national Kulbhushan Jadhav. The ICJ had in January given a timeline to both India and Pakistan for filing another round of memorials in the case. Now, Pakistan's memorial will be in response to the pleadings filed by India in the Hague-based ICJ on 17th of April. And after the submission of the second counter memorial, the ICJ will fix the matter for hearing, which is likely to take place next year. Remember, Kulbhushan Jadhav was sentenced to death by a Pakistani military court in April last year on charges of espionage and terrorism. And India and the UK have signed an agreement on exchange of experience by legal professionals and government functionaries for the resolution of disputes before various courts and tribunals. The agreement was signed by Law Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad and UK's Secretary of State for Justice David O'Rourke in London yesterday. The MOU seeks to provide a framework for promoting a greater cooperation between judicial and legal professionals through exchange of expertise and training. The two countries would also exchange information regarding current issues of international significance. The MOU also provides for the establishment of a joint consultative committee to facilitate an exchange. And Iran has said that it will do its best to ensure security of oil supply to India. Tehran has asserted that it has been a reliable energy partner for New Delhi. The clarification by Iranian embassy came a day after Iran's deputy ambassador cautioned New Delhi that it will stand to lose special privileges if it cuts import of Iranian oil following US sanctions. The clarification said that Iran understands the difficulties being faced by New Delhi in dealing with the unstable energy market. It added that it was for India to choose its energy partners, taking into account various factors like geopolitical considerations and the reliability of the oil suppliers. The embassy further said that Iran will do its best to ensure security of oil supply to India by offering various flexible measures which will facilitate bilateral trade, particularly Indian exports to Iran. Remember, the US has told India and other countries to cut oil imports from the Gulf nation to zero by 4th of November this year or face sanctions. India is yet to take a call on complying with the US sanctions on Iran. Meanwhile, the OPEC cartel has warned that global trade tensions could have a negative impact on the oil market by pushing down demand for crude. In its monthly report, the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries said that buoyant world trade in 2017 and in 2018 had helped impulse economic growth and therefore demand for crude. But it said that this may change further down the line as the US and China fired the latest shots in their escalating trade war. OPEC's latest report comes after the cartel and non-member Russia pledged to boost oil production in a meeting in Vienna last month. News from Bihar now, where the state cabinet on Wednesday approved amendments to the state's stringent liquor prohibition law, proposing a reduction in the quantum of sentence for those held guilty of violating the law. Bihar cabinet said that a nod has been given for the proposed amendments to be tabled in the monsoon session of the state legislature scheduled later this month. And once these amendments come into force, these will be applicable to new as well as pending cases. In other words, those arrested under the old stringent law may also avail of the relief that will be granted under the amendments. Ban on sale and consumption of liquor was introduced in Bihar by the Nitish Kumar government in April 2016. News from Maharashtra. After 4 consecutive days of heavy rainfall, Mumbai breathed a sigh of relief as the skies cleared on Wednesday. However, the city, along with the Thane, Raigad and Palghar, is expected to receive heavy to very heavy rainfall today. More than 320 local trains were cancelled in Mumbai and flights were delayed due to the weather. Traffic snarls were reported across the city as well due to water logging. Mumbai has been receiving incessant rain with July already recording average rainfall of 840.7 millimeters and the Santa Cruz Observatory registered 827.5 millimeters of rainfall in the first 10 days of the month. Meanwhile, at least 7 people were killed, many properties damaged and roads blocked as heavy rainfall lashed parts of Uttarakhand on Wednesday. Rainwater inundated a number of houses in different areas of Dehradun, causing inconvenience to residents. Meanwhile, a suspension bridge was also washed away in Pithoragarh district, where all the rivers including Kali, Gori and Saryu are in a spate of flowing near the danger mark. And heavy rains triggered landslides in 3 places in Manipur's Tamenglong town on Wednesday, killing at least 9 persons, including 5 minors and injuring 7 others. Security personnel and locals carried out the rescue operation on a war footing. The Manipur government has announced an ex gratia of 5 lakh rupees for the kin of those dead in the landslides. And incessant rains in parts of Gujarat led to one death, while 600 people were shifted to safer locations from waterlogged areas in south of Gujarat as the rivers are swelling and dams are overflowing. One person died of drowning in Bardoli town, and in south of Gujarat, Navsari, Valsad and areas of Surat district received maximum rainfall. An IMD has predicted heavy rainfall till Saturday in Kerala. It has also warned fishermen not to venture into the southwest central and North Arabian Sea due to the possibility of strong winds from a westerly direction. Meanwhile, the northern and central parts of the state continue to receive heavy rainfall. Several places in the state got inundated and normal life was sent into turmoil. On to some international news now. Deadly rains killed nearly 200 people in Japan. Homes of around 10,000 people were buried by landslides or submerged in floodwaters due to floods that have caused havoc in the country. The rains are the deadliest weather-related disaster in over 3 decades in that country. Rescuers manually shoveled dirt to search for missing people. Operations are underway to dig out and clear up after the devastating floods and landslides engulfed entire neighborhoods. Around 60 people are still missing, and local authorities are searching by house looking for survivors. The government secured around 71,000 temporary homes for the evacuees. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe cancelled a foreign trip as the death toll rose this week. US President Donald Trump has asked NATO allies to commit 4% of their GDP to military spending, double the current target. Donald Trump made the remarks during the Western Military Alliances Summit in Brussels yesterday. Donald Trump especially singled out Germany for particular criticism as he continued to assail NATO allies for failing to spend 2% of their GDP on defense spending, a target that NATO allies have agreed to meet by 2024. Donald Trump, during a breakfast meeting with the NATO chief, said that Germany was just paying a little bit over 1%, whereas the US was paying 4.2% of a much larger GDP. Donald Trump has long complained that NATO members are not meeting their fiscal obligations to the alliance.
We'll focus on what we have agreed, and we have agreed to be committed to the pledge increasing defense spending to 2%. And let's start with that. So we have a way to go, but the good news is that we have really started to deliver. I think that if you go back to 2014 and asked leaders, commentators, whether European allies would make that much progress we have seen from 2014 up till today, I think many people would have doubted that.
And let's get you all the action from the Football World Cup in Russia now. So it is going to be Croatia that will take on France in the World Cup final after they beat England 2-1 in the extra time in the semi-final in Moscow on Thursday. England enjoyed a lot of possession in the early exchanges and stunned Croatia with a goal inside 5 minutes, with Trippier netting his first international goal that had seemingly set England on course to reach their first final since they lifted the trophy on home soil back in 1966. But England went into the break ahead, and then Croatia came roaring back in the second half and equalized through Ivan Perisic. And with the score at 1-1, the game went into the extra time, where it was Mario Mandzukic who scored the winning goal. The Juventus forward netted it in the 109th minute to complete a remarkable comeback from the Croatian team and took the small nation of little more than 4 million people into the World Cup final for the first time in their short history. Fan zones in Moscow and elsewhere were rocking on Wednesday night as thousands of Croatia supporters celebrated their team's victory. England supporters were ecstatic after 5 minutes when Trippier scored from a free kick to give Gareth Southgate's team the lead. However, as the game progressed, Croatia took control and their fans were the ones celebrating even after the final whistle. So the final is set. It will be France versus Croatia, meeting for the 21st World Cup Championship. And the matchup was set on Wednesday as Croatia outlasted England in extra time at the Luzhniki Stadium on Moscow, which is also the venue for the title game. France was a favourite before the tournament and never looked like it was in too much trouble during the entire tournament. The French toppled Belgium 1-0 in their semi-final match on Tuesday to advance to the final and have a shot at their winning their second World Cup final that they took the title in 1998. Meanwhile, Croatia have never won the World Cup at all, but they will finally get their shot on Sunday. The resilient Croatians won't be an easy out for the French team. Croatia looked fantastic during the group stage, but the knockout round has been an unprecedented grind, with the opponents taking them to extra time in all the 3 games. This is their 3rd All-European final in the past 4 World Cups. Meanwhile, for England, it will be the 3rd or 4th sideshow against Belgium on Saturday. And for in-depth analysis of all the ongoing World Cup action, watch our special daily show at 7 p.m. On to cricket now. An upbeat India eye another dominant performance against the host England in the 3-match one-day international series, which begins at Trent Bridge today. England, the top-ranked ODI team, have been one of the finest with the batting lineup of Jos Buttler, Jason Roy and Alex Hales. So with the ODI World Cup scheduled to be held in the UK next year, the ODI series will give Virat Kohli an ideal opportunity to get a fair idea of the conditions here. KL Rahul has been in top form and Captain Kohli might come at number 4 in order to give Rahul a chance. Both Shikhar Dhawan and Rohit Sharma will be an automatic selections at the top of the batting order. And news from Wimbledon, where there was a heartbreak as Roger Federer was knocked out in the quarter-finals. In another match, Rafael Nadal prevailed, but not without a fight on an eventful day 9 at the championships. Roger Federer suffered a shocking defeat when world number 8 seed Kevin Anderson beat top seed Federer 2-6, 6-7, 7-5, 6-4, 13-11 to advance to the Wimbledon semi-finals at the All England Club in London. Roger Federer was serving for the match in the 3rd set, but he failed to close it out, giving the South African Anderson the chance that he needed to dethrone the defending champion in a match that lasted nearly 4.5 hours. Meanwhile, world number 2 Rafael Nadal faced a difficult road to the semi-final spot, taking almost 5 hours to beat Juan Martin Del Potro, eventually prevailing 7-5, 6-7, 4-6, 6-4, 6-4. Nadal's win sets up a blockbuster semi-final with Novak Djokovic. Djokovic beat Japan's Kei Nishikori. Meanwhile, American John Isner also reached his first Grand Slam semi-final as he beat Canadian Milos Raonic 6-7, 7-6, 6-4, 6-3. And with that, we come to the end of this edition of Midday News. Thanks for watching.